Hi everyone and welcome to another lesson with Year 6. Good boy. Welcome to another lesson. Today we are going to get started with our writing. Can you create a door to another world? Well, we have been exploring how we can use doorways as portals to a different world. So far this week, on Monday, we looked at different inspiration for different worlds. On Tuesday, we then moved on to plan our different world and how our character would get to that different world through their door. On Wednesday, look at creating your door to build a picture in your mind ready to describe with words today. And in today's lesson, we are going to write the first section from our plan. So if you remember, that includes our character going about their normal life, seeing a door to a different world and describing the door just before they step through it. And tomorrow you will be describing your new world, Mr. Kilda. Lucky Mr. Kilda. As in any writing lesson, we have our checklist for things we need to achieve today. In our writing, we need to make sure that it is in the first person, it is in the past tense, and we are going to try and use a relative clause today. Before we get to that, let's have a quick reminder as to what those things are. The first thing on our checklist, first persons. You're writing as if you are the person in the story. So you do not need to name them by name, so I won't be calling my character Jacob. I will be saying I, because I am telling that story. Second thing on our checklist is using the past tense. We talked about it the other day, so I'm not going to go through it for too long. But very briefly, we've got three types of past tense that we can use. We've got the past simple, so when we change the verb in this sentence, I ran to school, it is ran, change it to the past tense. Remember, not all verbs have ed on the end, the suffix ed that is, when they are turned to past tense. Some words change, so run doesn't go to run, it goes to run, ran. It goes to ran, definitely to ran. We also have the past progressive tense, a little bit trickier. We always remember to have ing on the end of our verb, keeping our verb in the present tense because it's not yet completed, and to make it the past we use our auxiliary verb. So I was running to school, progressing, there we go. You will also notice that I wouldn't say you was running, I would say you were running, so the auxiliary verb changes depending on whether it's past tense, present tense, or how many of you are doing, singular or plural. And finally, for the third one, we have the past perfect tense. So our verb has been perfected, it has been completed. It's me, Mr. Jobber from the future. Ooh! So the reason I've paused this video is that, as you probably saw earlier on the screen, I made a mistake with this and I just wanted to explain it to you. So I have made a mistake with using my past perfect tense, which is why you can see this little white box with run written over it. Now originally I had ran to school. So why is that wrong? Because ran is the past tense of run, right? Well, yes, it is the past tense of run, but the past perfect verb form uses something called the past participle verb form. So for this example, the past participle version of run is still run. Now in a lot of verbs, it is the same as the past tense. The past participle and the past tense are the same. So when using the past perfect tense, I would suggest making sure you know what the past participle verb form is of that, and you can do that by looking it up or using a dictionary or anything like that. So because the past participle verb form of run is run, the correct sentence should be I had run to school, as you can see in the green there on the board to the right. Now, I'm a teacher and I've made that mistake, and it's completely okay for you to make that mistake as well. And one thing I've learned from this is that I need to make sure when I'm using the past perfect verb form, I'm looking up what the past participle form of that verb is. So I did it using an online dictionary because I don't have a dictionary at home, and I would suggest you do the same. But it's still part of learning, and I now know not to make that mistake in the future. For the past perfect tense. Whistle stop tour, that one. Done! Next on the list, we have got relative clauses. We haven't looked at this recently. We looked at loads over year 5 and 6 though, so very briefly we're going to go over it. We have got our relative pronouns. Who, which, whose, that, where and when. Pow! We've got our relative clauses then. So to create a relative clause we need to use one of these relative pronouns to add more information about the main clause. So relative clause is a type of subordinate clause, it can't stand on its own. And the relative pronoun refers to the main noun in the main clause. So in this instance, the door. So without my relative clause, I've got the door was midnight black. Not bad. Oh, missing a hyphen there. Compound adjective, house point me. So the door was midnight black is my main clause. Then to add my relative clause, that refers to the door because it's an object. So the door that wasn't there a moment ago was midnight black. It's adding extra information to this. Remember, a relative clause doesn't have to go in the middle of a sentence, it could go at the end. Now my relative clause in the middle of the sentence, I've used punctuation marks, using commas this time, to separate it from the main clause. House point, if you can tell me what that is. Yes, you are right, that's parenthesis. Well done for getting that right. I know you just said it out loud to your computer screen. Relative clauses, done. Pow. And finally, our vocabulary we're going to be looking at today. We've got jagged. So something is jagged, it is not smooth. It's kind of like a bumpy mountain. Yeah, that picture definitely works. If you are looking at something intently or listening intently, you are listening very, very carefully. You are absorbed in what is happening. So you are all listening intently to me right now. If something is vibrant, it is really bright. If I had a gold leaf in the middle of my jumper right now, it would be really vibrant. It would be a really bright colour standing out. Okay, so that's all of our tools. If you are stuck with any of those, I would rewind the video, go back, look at it again. What I'm going to do is duck down. If you would like to take notes, you're more than welcome to. And the pause button will be right here. Pause. And we're back. Normally we would do a shared write. You would give me your ideas, we'd change them, work on it together. But unfortunately, this isn't live, so we can't do that, or do I really do miss that? What's going to happen is I'm going to write a sentence up on the board, we're going to talk about it, we're going to see if we can improve it, and then I'm going to show you the rest of the paragraph that I've written. Okay, so as you can hopefully read, I've got my search for fossils half-heartedly continued as I stepped from rock to rock while staring up at the cliff face. So I decided I wanted to go straight into the action with what my character was doing as they went about their ordinary business in their everyday life. And like I said in my plan, mine was just walking along the beach looking for fossils. And I did say I wanted to be a bit bored, but like, so he's kind of half-heartedly looking for them, means he's doing it, but he's not fully committed to it. So there's a nice compound adjective there to describe, compound adverb there to describe how he's doing it. Let's have a quick check, see if we met everything on our criteria. I will get colour coding. So is it in the first person? My search, yep. That is definitely the first person. Search for fossils half-heartedly continued as I step from rock to rock while staring up at the cliff face. Yep, that works. Is it in the past tense? Half-heartedly continued. Yep, but continued is the past, the simple past verb form of continue. As I stepped from rock to rock. I think I can up-level that. Although it is, yes, it is in the past tense. I think I can improve that. I can look down this list and I can say past progressive. I can probably change that to I was stepping. No, I was stepping. While staring up at the cliff face. Yeah, perfect. I've got my reds for first person. I've got my green for past tense, but I haven't got a relative clause in there yet. Pause the video, see if you can figure out where the relative clause could go. What did you think? What's that? Yep, I agree. It could go before the cliff face. While staring up at the cliff face, I think of my relative pronoun. I wouldn't say who was doing something. I would say that, as it is a specific object that I'm referring to. Also going to go a little bit further out, I'm going to add some personification in there. I'm going to staring up at the cliff face, that, something about the cliff face standing. Maybe it stood watching over the sandy beach. So that stood watch over the sandy beach, like it's protecting the beach. Maybe I could also add an adjective in there, such as jagged to describe the cliff. So that's just the first sentence. You've seen how I've done that. You've seen my process of how I wrote something out. I looked at my checklist, and even when I had done the past tense, I looked at where I could make improvements. I am convinced I'm the best writer to ever walk the earth, most of the time, but sometimes it's important that we take a step back and we review our writing because there's always room for improvement. So now I'm going to show you the rest of the paragraph on the computer. Again, if you haven't already, hit pause and copy down anything you need to or anything you want to magpie. Okay, let's crack on.
Okay, so as you can see in front of you, I've got the full version of my writing. I've got the whole paragraph. I have finished it. I apologise for the quality of this microphone. Still don't know how to fix it. Please let me know. As you can see, I've got a whole paragraph here. It does look longer because I've made the font quite big. It looks intimidating, but really it's not that long. So I'm going to read it to you, and we're going to have a brief talk about things as we go and why I've put them in there, and then we'll go from there. What I would advise you do while you're writing or while you've got this open in front of you is having your checklist of things we need to do today. So first person, past tense, relative clause, write them down on a post-it note or something and put them next to the computer. So, my search for the fossils half-heartedly continued as I stepped from rock to rock while staring up at the jagged cliff face that stood tall above the sandy beach. A faint sound on the wind, almost a whisper, snapped me from my concentration. I stopped and listened intently. So got intently there, so he's completely absorbed by listening. There it was, a whisper. I turned around the spot, my eyes darting to find the source of the noise, and that's when I saw it. Behind me, not 4 meters away, embedded into the cliff face, was a door unlike any I'd ever seen before. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief. I took several steps towards the door, and the whispers grew louder as if they were coming from behind it. The door itself was midnight black, smooth and made from granite, with diamonds studded sporadically all over it that twinkled in the light. Perfectly centered in the middle of the door was a multicolored silhouette of a tree, each rich color within bled into another, creating a vibrant watercolor effect. The whispers were closer now, and I felt a pulling sensation tempting me even closer. I reached out my hand and touched the granite. It was a smooth surface that was warm to touch, and in the center of the tree was a keyhole. Odd. It was far from warm out. The whispers came again, but this time from my coat pocket. Reaching inside, I felt a key. It was as if I knew what to do. I pulled the key out of my pocket, inserted it into the keyhole and turned it. A deep clunk echoed around me as the door slowly opened inwards. I gulped deeply, composed myself, and stepped into the cliff. So like I said, that's my, I must admit it's my shorter version of that. I wrote two, this is the shorter one of the two. What I would like you to do is I would like you to pause it, write down anything you'd like to magpie, and then we can talk about it. Okay, so hopefully you've magpied some bits there. What I quite like when I wrote this was there was embedded into the cliff face, so it's kind of stuck in the cliff face, it's right into it. It's not on the outside of it, it's like in the rock itself. With diamonds studded sporadically all over it, and I've added a relative clause in there of that twinkled in the sunlight. Perfectly centered in the middle of the door doesn't just mean it's in the middle, it's like right in the middle. And each rich colour bled into another, creating a vibrant watercolour effect. So it's kind of almost personifying the colours in the inside of the tree there. They're bleeding into each other, and as we know from our planning, it's kind of foreshadowing what's going to be happening in the sky in the next one. And again, I've reached out my hand and touched the granite. It was a smooth surface that was warm to touch, and in the centre of the tree was a keyhole. Odd, it was far from warm out. So in that bit there, I purposely said to the reader, it's cold here, but the door is warm. So again, I'm hinting that on the other side of the door, it's quite warm. And that short sentence of odd, it was far from warm out, gets the reader thinking, and also changing the sentence lengths. Not always having those really complex sentences can add dramatic effect, as I know you're all very good at doing. Gulped deeply, composed myself, and stepped into the cliff. So we've got loads in there. Something I would edit actually is I would probably look in here and say, where else can I put the past progressive or past perfect tense to reach that challenge? So what I'm going to do is, I took several steps towards the door and the whispers grew louder. I'm going to change to were, would I say growing? No, I'd say were growing, because the verb isn't yet completed. So there, I've added the past progressive tense in there. And if it was one whisper, I would say was growing, but because it's more than one, I would say were. So there's that. Just to let you know, if you click on the tab underneath this video today, or any of these from this week actually, you'll see the full version of my text, my model text. I may have got a bit carried away with it. It is quite long, but I would strongly advise that you look at that as a challenge. So if you're looking to stretch yourself, have a read of it. You can magpie loads from that and let me know what you think. Do you prefer this one or do you prefer that one?
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us for today's lesson. I hope you've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed getting my teeth back into creative writing. If you're about to go and write, good luck. I can't wait to hear about it. Why not send it to us today? We would love to read it. Tomorrow you've got Mr. Kilduff who's going to be going over the next bit with you. And I will see you again on Monday. See ya.